going. Hey, and speaking of this, look, let's keep moving.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of these prospects to watch out for. You know what I mean? I touted De'Ami Brown when he was coming out in the draft, and obviously I missed on that one. But coming into this one, I'm going to stay in North Carolina. Shocker. And and I'm going to go with somebody that we could potentially get in the second or early third round, Tez Walker.
Yeah.
We've seen this guy exploded onto the scene. Obviously, the first half of the season, he was declared ineligible to play. Once he came onto the field, I mean, he had a stretch of like 3 or 4 games where he had over, about 300 yards, getting 100 yards a game. I think with the amount of games that he played, he had, I believe, 699 yards, 7 touchdowns, just under 50 receptions for playing half of a season.
Yeah.
Once he came in, he was the main guy. This guy a year ago almost had another 1,000 yards. He's not going to be one of your top, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys, but he will be somebody that I think could be a valuable number 3. He's got size at 6'3", and I think he's definitely a threat. And he's somebody that can take a top off of defense if it can translate into the league. Now, if we get Drake, that'd be great to have his receiver with it. But we've done that. We've done that. We've already done that. So, Will, man, who are some of your guys you're looking out for?
Yeah, so I'm going to stick to, I think you set it up really well. You went wide receivers. Here's someone. I'm going to go corner, and I'm going to look at TJ Tampa out of Iowa State. I'm looking at, my thing, every dude has a, has what he likes. When it comes to cornerbacks, I like tall, lanky corners. I like guys who are 6'1", 6'2", around 200 pounds that they can play some press man. So TJ Tampa's a big guy. Cam Hart out of Notre Dame. I just see stuff where he could be going second round. I see stuff where he could be available in the 5th round. It's kind of hard to tell with him. And then another guy out of Boston College, and they brought this guy in for a 30 interview thing, was Elijah Jones out of Boston College. So I think those are some names there. And then I will get this. What's his name? Alec will enjoy this. I heard that Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon is being undervalued, and he's like 6'4". So I was like, oh, well, who's this guy? Let me see. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's exactly the prototype that I like.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I like that. And going with that size, and I know this is going to be a homer in the house, but I think we got to go with somebody from Michigan State. The tight end for Michigan State, Malik Carr, big body guy. They didn't have anything to be excited about last year except this guy. This guy is one of those that was able to take top off defense, yards after catch and after contact were out of this world. This guy is somebody that has kind of showed a little bit in the combine, but he's going to be somebody that we're going to be able to get potentially at the 100th pick or lower. And I truly believe probably lower. But this is one of those guys that I think it might be a potential project, but I think we can get him in, and his natural ability could definitely bode well for us. Bates ain't doing it, and Cole Turner is yet to prove. You know what I mean? So I think if you get him in there under Zach Ertz, I think he'll be good, along with the guy that you and I were talking about before at tight end from Northwestern, the purple team, Ben Stinnett,
Kansas State.
Kansas State, yes. Loved what he did at the combine, loved his pro day, loved those things. So, I mean, along the lines of getting quality players at this position, especially now that we have a veteran that they can learn under, I like that.
Yeah. Well, sticking with tight ends, that there are a couple guys that I've got my eyes. Obviously, one of the top names is Jatavian Sanders. Out of Texas. So if you're going early, 36 or 40, that may be a name to look at. But if you're going, like you said, later, there's 2 guys, Jared Wiley of TCU, 6'7", but a big time pass receiver. And then the next one, they said this guy is way more athletic. He had the second fastest time at the combine, but he was in a college offense that was pathetic. Any Nittany Lion fan will tell you this, that their offense was pathetic. But Theo Johnson is someone who could be better as a pro than he was in college because he just wasn't utilized in that team. And that would be a later round. So while I'm saying I'm really worried about beefing up our corners and tight ends, that may be a spot we can improve later and use, that's those second round picks for a little bit like you talked about of getting a defensive end, getting a wide receiver, getting a little bit more of a playmaker, knowing that we can address some of those other needs later.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And to tie up mine, I'm going to go right to where we started talking about the secondary from the national champions. I think we need to go look at Mike Samerstill. This guy, one of the things that jumped off the page to me when watching his tape was his football IQ. Being able to understand the trends, understand the tendencies of certain teams. There was a play early in the game against Alabama where they're driving down the field and, they had run some crossing patterns that had kind of burned Michigan. Towards the end zone, he saw it being set up, but he saw where there was a guy that was coming back. They were trying to force him to cross where the guy came back and was going to be wide open in the corner. He sat there and set all on the fly, set it up, told the guy to go that way, and then drifted in that area, ended up stopping the play and forcing Alabama to kick an early field goal. It was a small thing, but it was a huge momentum shift in a game that was a 3-point game at the end of the game. So I honestly think we're already looking at DBs and secondary, and we see what type of player Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. like to play with. Let's see if we can bring in a winner and a guy that has IQ and, something like that, smarts and stuff. Along with Cameron Kitchens out of Miami, was an All-American a year ago. It was pretty solid this year. And Terrion Arnold. I don't know that he'll be there. Yeah. He might be there. I don't know.
He might be one of the first round corners, but yeah,
that's what I was thinking too. So, but yeah, I've seen some mocks where he has dropped to our pick in the second round, but I've also seen where he goes early too. So, I mean, if he's there and maybe some of the guys that we wanted have already passed, I think we should definitely take a shot. I mean, that's at least an area that I think we should focus.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Samerstill because I was trying to figure out. There's a lot of buzz about him, and then I saw his measurables. He's 5'9". I went, nope, you're off my list. So good to hear that it's his IQ that has him, talk. Because I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. We already have, we drafted a strength last year. I don't need to draft two of them here.
Right. And a lot of that, because to be honest, a lot of the focus that on secondary and DB is the fact that we have Quinn and we have Joe Witt Jr. Yeah. And seeing what they did at Dallas, we're hoping to emulate that here. So it's kind of like, okay. Whereas before we got them, I'm like, no. Just like with getting linebacker, I was scarred from the Rivera era. I don't want corners. I don't want linebackers. Don't give me anything. Give me what I want, But now I'm kind of like, well, we got some good coaches that focus and specialize on this position. Yes, let's get some guys in here and see if they can work with some young guys.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely with that. All right.
Before we move on, since we all are looking at left tackle, do you have any left tackles that you've got your eye on?
That will be around?
Mm-hmm.
No. Obviously, you want to go with Joe Alt, but he will not be there. Will Campbell out of LSU, he work with Jaden Daniels potentially. That could be nice. Jordan Morgan, you saw that on my first mock draft. He most likely will be there out of Arizona. So yes, I could go there. My thing is, looking kind of at some of these mocks and some of the things that you and I have been talking about, I'm wondering where that run of tackles might go.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, by the time we get there, if we don't trade back and we stay with that second pick in the second round, it's like, okay, they might not be there. So I've seen some guys, but unless we're trading back in, which is all very possible, I just don't know. I don't know. I like this. Brendan Rice, he'd be a good pick, a legacy
He's
pick.
tall. He's
Yes.
tall. I didn't realize that. And he worked with Cliff Kingsbury last year.
Exactly. So that would be a good run. And we'd have Jerry Rice on the sidelines. Come on now. His autographs, baby. Let's go.
Jeez.
Luke McCaffrey.
We could have Ed McCaffrey on the sidelines. Get some autographs.
Yes. And then Blake Corum later on down there. Yeah. I think that the Chargers are going to get him. I mean, I think Harbaugh's going after his boy. Going after his boy.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.